I'm hoping that I am now live. I shall find out if I am. I'm not sure. I've once again. Let's just trust that there are no technical gremlins, that we're all okay, and that I have started. I'm hoping to do the same thing again, where my laptop is off to my right and my phone is ahead of me, so I can hopefully see. And yes, yes, it looks as though I am live. I can see myself. There's a delay as always. I think they put in a 5 minute delay just, or maybe, I don't know, 5-10 second delay or something, just in case something unsavory happens. Anyway, it's lovely to see you, and it's daylight. It's a beautiful evening here. It's absolutely gorgeous. I hope it's equally gorgeous wherever you are in the world, because it's just, oh, finally, after a month of hailstones and lots of rain and all sorts of interesting weather, and certainly some frost and all the rest of it, finally got some good weather. So it's been lovely. I went for a walk along the canal, and there were ducklings and goslings and just cuteness everywhere. It was just wonderful. It was really wonderful. Anyway, lovely to see you all here. Tonight, I will be making, because, well, I said I would, and I'd like to. Now, one thing I cannot do from here is actually see comments coming up on my phone, but I can see them here, and we have Alison and we have Lorna on the call. Hello, both of you. How lovely to see you. Alison, I hope you're settled in now. I've been meaning to drop you a line and see how you're doing and all the rest of it. So, fingers crossed you are. And lovely to see you on the call too. Lorna as well, and Nate, I hope, as well as with you. And Lynn's here as well. Hello there. Now, I may not be able to say hello to everybody else who's joining me, but I'll do my best and I'll keep blethering away as is my wont. So, I didn't think that I have ever made a bunny. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you'll be able to tell me. Oh, we've got Amory as well. Hello, Amory. I don't think I've made a bunny before, and you know, every month I make a few other wee creatures inspired by this month's Squeak Show project, or Squeak Show mice, which of course are the little birthday cupcake mice. You might be able to see a few little cupcakes in the background. They're all ready to be made. Or I've been working on cupcakes, and I must show you this actually. I've been working on birthday candles. Wait to see these. Now, they might not look much, but that's about a day and a half's making. I mean, really, they look like maggots, really. Sorry, that's horrible. But yes, my little candles, which go in every single cupcake. Well, anyway, keeps me out of mischief, which is all the important thing. So the point of tonight, I think, is to make a little cupcake bunny. Now, I'm not sure that I've ever made a bunny blowing out, you know, like with an open mouth, because normally they've got teeth and all the rest of it. So it'll be a bit of an experiment. We shall see. I'm going to make a grey bunny tonight. I just love this light. It's just so beautiful in here. I don't suppose you can see it very well, but oh, wow. Makes me realise, do you remember all those, you know, the years, well, it was maybe only 2 years, right enough, but it was long enough, where I was in workshops which had no windows. I don't know how I managed it. I really don't know how I managed it. But I did, and I got through it, and now I appreciate so much more having beautiful, beautiful light in here. I don't get to see a view unless I go outside, but that's okay, because it's still light, and I could technically work with my lights off, but I won't be doing that. It'll get dark after 9. It's about 9:30, so it should be light for the whole of tonight's demonstration. So hopefully you will be able to follow what I'm doing. Because of where the camera is, I can't use that little spot where I normally store my roller, and all, you know, various other tools and all the rest of it. Had a bit of a surprise visitor as well. You know, like 3 minutes to 8 before I went on, there was a little knock on the door, and I was like, who's this? And it was Enrique. Bless him, he'd popped in. He'd cycled over from home, which is just about 5 miles away, but there's lots of hills. And he cycled over quite a lot when last summer, and has tried to do it whenever he can. And he got home from work early enough that he could cycle out just to say hello. And I was like, but I've got to go live in like 3 minutes. And he was like, that's okay. I just wanted to say hello and bye again. So it was very nice, and I'm just as well I'm not on camera because I'm blushing a wee bit. Oh, we're still in honeymoon mode, and it's been, what, 2.5 years? I know it's not long in the great scheme of things, but it's lovely. And actually, what date's today? The 18th. On the 20th, we will, so in 2 days, so that's what, Thursday? We will be celebrating 6 years since we first knew each other, since we first got in touch. And then on the 7th of June, that'll be 6 years since we first actually met each other, or clapped eyes on each other. We went for a drink in Hebden Bridge, which is such a lovely part of the world. It really is. We drove through it on Saturday, actually. It was just really the Calder Valley. If you've never been there, and if you're ever in the area, it's definitely worth having a go. Anyway, right, here's me. I'm pricking the clay to get rid of as many of the bubbles as I can. This clay is quite warm because it's warmer, yay, which is lovely. And I would normally have the air conditioning on, but I think it would just be a little bit too hot. Sorry, too noisy, not too hot. It is too hot. It needs air conditioning, but it would be too noisy to do it. Anyway, right, so here I go. Let's see if that's not too bad. I will spend time cleaning the clay. Well, I have to do a few bits. Honestly, do you know, I kept my hands out of the way, didn't say hello because I'd scrubbed them properly before I start. Because, as we have discussed ad nauseam many times before, my hands pick up flob like nobody's business. And actually, I've been working with brown clay today, and I can still see traces of brown clay. Honestly. So what I will do here, you won't be able to see it on the camera, I hope. You won't be able to see how mucky my clay is. My goodness. So trusty, what do you call it? Baby wipes. That's the one. Trusty baby wipes to the rescue. Just taking off that last veneer of brown. My goodness. I've been working on, as well as the birthday cupcake mice, I've been doing a few other mice as I've been going along, just because they will be going into the shop at some point this month. But there's not much of the month left. I mean, gosh, where does the time go? It's really quite astonishing. You see, I don't know whether you could see, there was a huge air bubble there. It's just, I don't know whether because the clay is quite soft, because it's warm at the moment, whether it's just trapping air more, or if I'm not being as careful as I can. But I don't know whether you can see that or not, but you get a sense for where the air bubbles are, and where a bump is not actually a solid bump, but it has air in it. And then if you can preempt them before rolling, that can often cut the problem. So I'm doing this slightly more quickly, if you can believe that. I'm doing this more quickly than I normally do, in the interests of hopefully having a bunny made at the end of this. We shall see. And the little bunny will be joining a little guinea pig and some penguins. Oh, God, can you imagine the penguins with the cupcakes? They're just going to have a ball with those. Oh, that's going to be good fun, I have to say. And I woke up, the last few mornings, I've not really talked about the calendar scenes, and I won't, because they are strictly under wraps. But the photographer, Holly, is going to be coming down probably in maybe late July, sometime in August, to photograph all 12 scenes, and then I'll need to get the proofs off to the printer by the beginning of September, I think. And then they will get them back, the calendars back to me by the beginning of October. And I was thinking that would be soon enough, so that's my time scale, I think, for unveiling the calendar, just so I can get the calendar off to people overseas and all the rest of it in good time. So, well, we'll see how it all goes. But I've been dreaming of the calendar scenes, because I've not made them all yet. And I'm still, because obviously my focus has been on getting the each month's creatures done, and each month's creature is inspired by the calendar scene, but the calendar scene is kind of following, if you like, the mice for that month. It's not working out exactly as I envisaged, and that's fine. It's actually more fun this way. yes, because I'm kind of going back to the drawing board on a few ideas, just by necessity. And even just thinking about keeping things a bit smaller scale because the mice will be the star of what's going on. So sorry about this. I'm not actually getting into a bunny shape now. I've still got just a lump of clay, a rather misshapen and stabbed lump of clay. Oh, goodness me. Right, hopefully this will be it. And then we can get into bunny shape. Yes, and you'll get to see how I make the ears, which has become, oh, see, there's air bubbles everywhere, absolutely everywhere. This is it. Right, once I have got the last of these air bubbles, I'm going ahead, and I don't care. Well, I do care, obviously, but I'll be able to clean it up later as well. That's the other thing. It's only me that's being a perfectionist here. That's that's the thing. You won't be able to see any of these little air bubbles, and you won't be able to see any of the little bits of muck. But you've now spent the first 10 minutes of this watching me roll a ball of clay. Wow. How excited are you? Are you enjoying it so far? That's the question to ask. Right. Okay. I think, yeah, we're getting there. It'll do. All right. So I'm going to make a standing bunny, and he's going to be attached to the cupcake. This is the cupcake. This is one I made earlier. I thought that the purple would look very nice with a grey bunny. So, well, you see he's got a little bubble in his nose. See, I really do try and get rid of these before the shape comes, because otherwise you run the risk of distorting the shape just because you're trying to get rid of the air bubbles. However, we're getting there. We're getting there. Now, bunnies have a little, and otters actually, because they have the same sort of features, because I give them separate chops. I make them little cheeks, and that sticks on the front. So the cheek, the actual front of the face has to be quite flat to accommodate, so that the chops are not protruding too far. And apologies for anybody else who's joined the call since I last looked at the comments. It's really hard. I mean, you would just see me just scooting over in my chair, which was a lovely chair on wheels. But that's not much fun, is it? Clean wet wipe. There we go. Starting to come to shape now. I love the way I can see them all appearing. He's got a bit of a dirty bum. How cute is that? Let's just get that bit of flob there. Right. Okay, so vague bunny shape just now. Got the eyes slightly pressed in, the eye sockets. Got quite a narrow head. And then I make the legs, the hind legs, because he's sitting up. He'll be sitting up perched on his hind quarters. So I use, no, I don't use that one. I don't know quite whether this is a clay making tool, might be, but it's got a quite a thick, pointy, not too sharp, metal bar, which I find are the best for pressing in to get the leg, the thigh shape. And it's important to try and get them obviously matching on either side. There's that bit of flob again. Goodness me. I mean, I don't even have hair that long. What is going on? I do wonder where it all comes from. But anyway, what I probably need to do one day is bring my Hoover from home, because we've got access to a Henrietta. Now, those of you in the UK, I don't know whether Henry is a worldwide phenomena. Henry the Hoover. Like this little character, Red Henry. Well, there's now a female one called Henrietta, of course, which is pink. Must post pictures of Henry and Henrietta. But anyway, the long story short, or the point of telling you that, is that Henrietta, alas, I mean, it's the Mills Hoover, but it's not that powerful. So I don't really Hoover I sweep more than I Hoover. in here, but that means that there's a lot more flob flying around than there would be if I come in and hoover. So the point of that little story was to say that one of these days I will bring in my super powerful dog hair remover hoover. Dog hair remover hoover. Try saying that quickly. Because it's very good. It's very powerful, and it will hopefully reduce the flob. That would be good. Right, so we have more or less the bunny body, the bunny legs, and I'm going to give him a little white tummy as well. Here's one I prepared earlier because, you know, if I don't do some of the work beforehand, we'll just be sitting here while I'm prepping the clay, while I'm cutting the clay, while I'm rolling the clay, and it'll just take forever and a day. But hey, so I've just cut, I've used the same cutter for the tummy as I will be using for the ears. It's a little oval cutter, and it has actually split down it's metal, and it's split at the weld. So I've actually just used sellotape to put it back together again. I probably should do something a little bit more impressive than that, but it'll do. Right, so I'm just wanting to, again, ease the belly down just so that it tucks under. Which is not happening at the moment, so trusty scalpel just to eke off the hair which got trapped, and a little bit of discoloured clay. There we go, that'll do. Right, now he's going to have to sort of bend forward a little bit, because if you see where he's coming in, I don't know whether I don't know whether you can see that. Oh, I just got a message, it was interrupted. Did I pop out and back in again? Hopefully I'm here. Hopefully it's still working. Looks to be. You'll shout if it's not, and I'll find out tomorrow that I've been blethering away to myself, as I'm pretty sure I do most of the time anyway. Anyway, so he will be, before I attach him, I'm obviously going to have to put all his paws and ears and the likes, and his chops as well. There's still a bit of bubble there. And even though that will be covered by his chops, no, it's so important that it's right all the way down to the core. I don't like just covering things up. It's all got to be perfect, or as perfect as it possibly can be in the circumstances. Right, okay. So we'll leave him just to cool down a bit, and I shall cut now I'll cut the ears, and I'm having to sort of push the cutter together because of the join, which is sellotaped over. And he also needs hind paws, or his feet, and his hand paws. So they're cut. And I also need his inner ears. So I'm using a smaller oval cutter. It just fits perfectly within the ear size cutters. It's good. My favourite cutters. I really do have. I have some cutters I would be absolutely bereft. Was it not? I can't remember when it was, but do you not remember? I lost one, or I dropped one on the floor, and I just was like, ah, no, it's my favourite cutter. I think that was my mouse paw cutter, which I just can't afford to lose, really. Can't afford to lose. I'm sure I could probably find a replacement, but it's been with me from the start. I'd be mortified if it disappeared. You know, if I ever lost it. So even when I have done a few like demonstrations and the odd meetup and everything, they've all come with me, and thankfully all my favourite cutters and all my favourite tools have all come back again. Long may that continue. Now, So that's the ears, that's the hind paws, that's the paws that will just stick out at the side. There's a little bit of flob on the ear. Now, to get the shape, I used to use my clay shaper to hollow out the ears, because obviously if I just put the ears like that, it would not exactly look very, very good. But I want to do his, before I get onto the ears, I want to do his chops so that I can put his eyes in. Put his eyes in. It sounds so violent, but it's really not. So I'm using thickest cutting clay, white, squished down, flattened down to make it a wider circle. And again, there's some flop. And I also need his little pink nose, which is going to be so cute. But first of all, I just dab a little bit of liquid clay on the corner so that they stick together. Comme ça. Did you see the cat grammar thing which I put today? It just made me crack up. Because I don't know about you, but I mean the language that you learn in, you know, the language that your native tongue. I don't know about you. I mean, we did some grammar, but I have learned so much more about grammar now that I've been learning Spanish than I ever did at school. Now, I could tell you with English what's right and what's wrong. I could not tell you why. But now I'm finding out what the difference is, what, you know, perfect, continuous present, future, all these things, you know, which I kind of had a rough, vague notion about. Now I know, or now I'm learning, let's put it that way. It's not quite the same thing. Right, yes. And actually, I identified with the cat as well, with the sofa. More, I think, after the parties that I've been having this week. My birthday week's just been wonderful. I've had such a good time, having such a good time. And Enrique has really just, he's spoiled me so much. I did say to him, I don't want parties, I don't want a fuss, it's just another day. And he went and arranged 2 surprise parties. So he knows me better than I know myself. I think I am very, very lucky. He is a sweetheart. Right, and then flob, sorry about that arm there, embedded hair. Sometimes they get stuck and I need tweezers to actually pull it out. Oh, that may just have to be a whisker. I think it's going to take a bit of extra work to get him out. Oh, for goodness sake. Anyway, right, well that's a job for a minute. So what I'm going to do now is gauge where his eye holes are. Okay, so I don't glue on his chops yet. They're just sitting there, and it's the tackiness of the clay which is keeping it on, and I need to be careful when I bring it off. But that means I can position the eyes in the proper place. And now this is where I duck down and get the eyes. God, it's warm. Right, forgive again if my head is in the way for this. I'm just going to pick out the eyes again. And this is, those of you who have joined me before will know that this is quite a more involved happening, event, task. That's the one. It's a more involved task than you would perhaps think, because the eyes have got to be as close in size as possible. And, you know, when I'm looking at them over my glasses, as I am at the moment, the difference between between the sizes is just, it's a lot more than the 0.001 millimeter that it probably is in reality. And you don't want uneven eyes, do you? I mean, that's just not the thing to do. Oh, and I nearly cooked the tin of eyes. Oh, it's my constant nightmare that happens, because it has happened too often to want to repeat, put it that way. Right, let's put them back safely. Let's put them out of harm's way while I can. Right, and now ball shaper to push them in gently. And then just see. And already, you know, it's just, I love how they really do start to come to life at round about this stage. It's wonderful to see them starting to appear and get their character, their personality. But oh my goodness, the amount of flob. Normally I'm working much closer to the clay, but in deference to my audience, I am working more at arm's length through my glasses, but that means I'm missing out. I'm not seeing as much of the flob as I normally do until I get up close, and then it's like, oh my god, how did that happen? How did that get on? Anyway, another little clear up. There'll be several more of these happenings before he's finished. He, she, answers on a postcard, not entirely sure yet. We shall find out. Right, so now ears. Right, so this is what I was going to tell you. So I've discovered, I used to use my clay shaper, my large clay shaper, just again like a paintbrush, but with rubber clay at the end instead of bristles. But now I have made, this is my ear indenter. Not sure how you'd call it, but I made this just out of a bit of scrap clay and made a raised oval shape which basically can press into the ear and create a domed shape. Now that it does actually make life a little bit easier and a little bit quicker, but because the clay can stick to this, because it's quite old now and I need to periodically scratch off the extra dried clay. So what I do is I use corn flour. Corn flour is a really good medium if you want to stop the clay sticking. So it's on my finger, you can see it's actually pretty sticky because it's just warm in here. So I'm using just a little bowl of corn flour and a little paintbrush that I only use for the corn flour, and I'm dusting it on to the mould, and then it won't stick when I do this. So hopefully you can see this. I'm not sure whether I'm close enough. It's quite hard to keep an eye on my phone while I'm doing this because it's got that 20-second delay or whatever. See if I can. I think you can see how that sort of pushed it into a bunny shape, a bunny ear shape, I should say. And then the same again, because the again just a little top up of corn flour and push it on, shape the edges, and it's actually it's less a pressing into and more of a moulding round, if that makes sense. And I can finish it off as well with just a little bit of the clay shaper after that. So that's the 2 bunny ears have now been done. That's my paintbrush can go away again. So I'm now going to just make sure that the inner ear is all flattened and equal. That's fine. And then it's just a question of pinching the bottom to form the base of the ear. So you see, bunnies are probably the most of my regular creatures. They are the most work intensive of the regular creatures. You know, I don't do hedgehogs very often. Hedgehogs are very work intensive. I've made a hedgehog on one of the video demonstrations. And unicorns, anything with 4 legs, basically, they're probably the longest of all, with the unicorns being the most time consuming, because not only do they have the legs, but they've got the mane and the tail. And, you know, I roll out every strand of hair individually. One of these days I will do a demonstration, or at least half a demonstration of a unicorn, and you can see what I mean. And then you'll go, oh my god, Kirsten, I'm really sorry I've asked you to make unicorns in the past. I'll never ask you again. That's kind of, you know, just you might think that. You might think that. Right, so now I'm going to trim the edge, and because it's one on either side, so I trim each of them at a different angle because they're sitting on either side of the head. And then I'm going to use my medium extender, which I still don't quite know how it works, but it is the best that I have found for joining raw clay to raw clay. I don't know why, but I very rarely have ear breakages now. They do happen if they fall from a great height, of course, but in transit, generally they are actually, the ears are more robust than you perhaps would think. I'm conscious of the time actually, and I'm not. I've just noticed the time that it's just gone 1/2 past. So might not be able to finish this bunny, but at least I can put his ears on, so he looks more like a bunny. And then I can do what I normally do, just finish him off and post a picture of him tomorrow. So the ears are in the right position, and then it's a question of making sure that they are as securely fixed as possible, and this is where the clay shaper really comes into its own. So I'm doing the front ends of the ears to begin with, so I'm just blending in the clay, and then I'm making sure that the edges are fixed properly. And then I use my trusty tool again. I'm sure there's a name for it. It's probably just another, like a clay piercer or something. But what I'm doing now is going round the base of each ear and rolling the clay together so that it forms a really, really, really good join. This is the other reason why bunny ears tend to be pretty robust. Because they're not just stuck on, they're blended on. So yeah, the ears take a bit of doing, I must confess. And then once I have blended, then I usually just add a little bit of the medium extender just to the outside, and I'll wipe it off afterwards as well. But this, again, this creates a really, really, really good seal, join, whatever you want to say. And then just blend it together. Oh, sorry about that. That was the end of my clay shaper hitting the camera. And then the last, oh, that just needs a little squish down there, a little squish down there. And then the last thing, of course, is just to give it a bit of give him a bit of a wipe so that there's no excess medium extender, and that the join is as smooth as possible with the ears. And because I've been working with the clay, it's quite soft. It's certainly possible to shape the ears then into the best position. So, right, there we go. So let's just bring one of the ears up with a slight jaunty angle. Actually, they should probably both be back because he's going to be blowing out a candle, isn't he? I love internal consistency in the wee creatures. It really does make a big difference. Right. So, do you want me to carry on? I don't know how many of you are here, and I've not. I'm sorry, I've really not. In fact, I'm just popping over to have a quick look at the comments. I've been live now for 33 minutes, and Alison's getting excited about the unicorn demo that yes, it may well happen. So now, if I'm keeping to the half an hour, then I stop now, and then I send. I'll finish him off in the morning, and post a picture in the group so you can see what he finally looks like. Well, let's at least give him his bottom paws, if you know what I mean, hind paws. I suppose they are. So, right, and then if you need to dash off, you need to dash off. That's absolutely fine. I won't go on much longer because I might even beat Enrique home if he left just after 8. Then it'll take him about 40 minutes to get home. At least it's nice and light for him to travel. That's good. So I'm just shaping the paws, and then I'm cutting them because they're going to go underneath the body. And again, clay extender for the join. And I just tuck that in a little bit so that then it can just sit where his paw would be. And because, again, he's going to have a cupcake in between his legs, he needs a bit more room than he would normally. Because it's only when the bunnies are sitting down on their bum and that they'll have big paws. When they're standing up like this, or, you know, perched on his bum like this, then the paws can be a bit smaller. And then just put his toes in. There we go. There we go. Oh, do you know there's there's so much flob on him, it's a nightmare. Okay. Actually, well, if I can at least get, and I'm kind of trying to get him to lean forward a little bit. He's so cute. He is so cute. Right, this is the bit which I'm not sure how it will work, but I suspect it will. I'm going to fasten his chops on without the teeth, because if you're blowing, your lips cover your teeth. So if he's blowing out the candle, then his teeth will be under his lips and you won't see them. But his cheeks will be slightly further out than they would normally be. I try and be as accurate, that's not quite the right word, as, well, I suppose so. Anatomically correct isn't quite right as well, because obviously it's not really an anatomically correct bunny. But it must have internal consistency, is what I'm trying to say. Right, and this is the experiment for me. In fact, I think I'll use a knitting needle. So this has got a stronger, I was going to use the clay shaper, but that's too flexible. This at least, and actually I use these for the mice as well. So there you go. And now all of a sudden, he's blowing out a candle. Oh yes. I don't know whether you can see that all right. Kind of looks as though he's singing at the moment, so I might just blend it up a little bit. Because again, I mean, do you ever do this? I mean, if I'm making an expression on a creature, I will actually look at myself in the mirror and have a look and see what the expression looks like. Oh, one thing I need to do is make a little indentation for his bunny tail. This, by making it now, it means that it will sit more flush after baking, because I can glue it in after it's been baked, after he or she, not quite sure yet. Actually, we're nearly there. Right, so before I attach him to the cupcake, I'm going to give him his paws, which won't be holding anything. They've got to be just like splayed out from his sides, just like the paws of the mice, just the way that they are. Because, you know, he's sort of standing there going, whoo, blowing out a candle. And again, just imagine yourself blowing out a candle, and then that's the position to adopt. So again, it's all about internal consistency. Oh, it looks like I'm going to finish off this wee bunny and then do the big clear up job tomorrow. Now, because it needs to be, it's not holding anything into him, it's going to be sort of standing out. So the join to his body needs to be at a 45-degree angle. You wouldn't have thought there was so much engineering in this, would you? And now I'm just giving him his fingers. Claws? Do rabbits have claws? I suppose they do, but do they have fingers? I don't know. There's a question for you. Answers on a postcard, I'm sure somebody knows. And again, just a little dot of the medium extender. And I'm also, I think I've said this to you before, but I roughen up the clay as well. So it's not, you know, so it's actually creating more. You do that with real clay, with, you know, wet clay. You kind of create a roughness for the slip, and that creates a better join. And because his paws are going to be visible, then I'm going to bring his fingers in a little bit. There we go. As I say, I would normally be peering over my glasses whilst I'm doing this, and I'm doing it at a distance. So let's put his paws on first. So there we go. I can just kind of blend them in, but you see, by doing it this way, and I'll do the same as I did with his ears, by just blending the clay in. Actually, that's probably easier to do it with my clay shaper, and then I can finish it off with some, what's it called? With the wet wipe. That's the one. And again, I'm just strengthening the join with the medium extender, just to give it a much better and a much stronger finish. Okay, he's cute. I'm laughing. There we go. And I'll just make his paws a little bit thinner as well. And a little bit of a wipe. As I say, I'll finish this off properly tomorrow. It's very warm tonight, but we're nearly there, so I kind of have to keep going. If you don't mind going over. It's now 2:15, isn't it? Coming up in 2:15. Right, so now I'm just making sure that he's leaning forward enough. He's got his paws out and he's really excited, and he's going 3, 2, 1, and he's going to puff out the candle. So I'm going to use liquid clay to glue to fix. Sorry, I don't suppose you can see that unless I do it this way. So I'm using the liquid clay, because these are already baked. You've probably gathered that. I baked these before. And then let's make sure that that's all on. And that's the extent of the join, actually. It's just pressed in enough, and because it's got liquid clay, that will create a permanent bond between them. It's much better than having a like trying to glue it on. So when I've been asking people if you want freestanding or attached, the attached ones I attach at this stage. The freestanding ones I just make a mouse and the cupcake, and they're just separate and they can move around. They can go dancing. But there we go. Yay, finished. So what you can do, because I've made the candle out of wire, so you could actually, very carefully, you could move the candle so it looks as though he's blowing it out of place. So I shall bake him in the morning once he's tidied up, and I shall post a picture in the group. But I think that's all from me for tonight. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry I wasn't able to see your comments as we were going, but I'll go off and read them now. And thank you very much for joining me. I shall see you soon. Okay, have fun. Bye.